Hey everyone! Well, you're catching me in a moment of automotive bliss. I am driving a car that I have always wanted to drive, and it's not disappointing. It is gorgeous. What is that car? It is this car, a BMW 635 CSI. This particular one is an 86, but all of the 6 Series from the 80s I love. I just love the shape, and I always imagine what it would be like to drive one, and they don't disappoint. What a beautiful car. Oh, I'm just sitting in this car going, I must have one, but I must resist after all the money I spent on the E30. For those of you that have seen my my E30 review, you'll know how much effort I put into restoring that car. And this particular one is owned by, this particular 6 Series is owned by a guy, Mike, who works just down the road from where I live, and he'd seen me in my 911 and had written to me and said, hey Nick, I've got an old 635 if you're interested in driving it. And I'm, yes I am. And so here we are, the Gorillas and I are taking a cruise in his 635, and I love it. Oh, I love it. I mean, I'd looked inside them before, but now that I've driven it, what must it have been like to drive this car off the showroom floor back in the 80s? You know, you'd think that it would be like, it'd be the same as when I drove my M4 off the showroom floor a couple of weeks ago. But I don't think so. I think this is a much more special car than the M4. You know, back then, BMWs were a lot more money, and they were a lot rarer, you know. BMW is just really coming into its own in the 1980s. So this would have been something else. But yeah, even now, you know, all these years there, 30 years later, this is still a joy to drive. I'll take you through all the details in a minute. You know, this is not a restored car, this is an original condition car, but it's still a fantastic car, and it's a manual transmission as well. So all you manual transmission people will be going, woo! So anyway, I'll stop driving around now and I'll stop lathering on. Needless to say, I'm having the time of my life. I love this car, and now I'm all a quiver. Oh, I might have to get one because it is awesome. And when I see them in real life, I think, shit, that is a beautiful shape. And the problem is, I love them more and more every year. Every year these become rarer, and every year I love these cars more and more. And you know, I've been umming about what car I will do next for a restore job. And you know, now that I've got my E30 in New Zealand all nicely restored, there's not a lot more work I need to do to that, and I'm not back in New Zealand very often, so I don't get to even drive it. So I'd really love to have a car here in the US that I can tinker with and play with, and maybe one of these would be ideal. Needless to say, I'd be pretty tempted to get the M6 version of this, which is even rarer and more special. But even like this one I just, you know, I've only been driving this one 10 minutes and I'm in love with it. I love it. It is awesome. It is better than I imagined it would be. Ah, it's gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Anyway, on with the review. I'll take you for a walk around the inside of the car, and talk to you about some of the points that I know. I'm not an encyclopedia of knowledge about this particular model, but I know enough about it to be dangerous. And I hope you enjoy this. And you know, anyone out there that's got, you know, I'm really starting a new section in my YouTube channel of classic cars. I particularly love cars from the 70s and 80s, and obviously I particularly love BMWs and Porsches and European cars. So anyone that has got one of those cars that they've restored that they'd like me to show on YouTube, let me know and I'll come and drive it. You know, I almost get more of a thrill from driving these older cars than I do from driving brand new high performance cars. It's just something special about driving an older car and reliving what it must have been like to drive one of these cars back in the 80s. Anyway, on with the review. Thanks for watching, everyone. Okay, let's take a quick look around the outside. The CSI was a long, sleek car. It looked like a shark. It had these long bumpers here in the US, but the rest of the world got the regular bumpers, which I think look better. Around the back, you got this slightly offset double tailpipe, which was also common on the 5 Series, which didn't look quite right, but you get used to it. But overall, you know, it's a car with very nice proportions. I guess because it's a coupe, it's always going to look good. But yeah, I've always liked the look of the 80s 6 Series BMWs. The car itself was famous for a lot of reasons. There was in many TV shows and movies. The one that springs to mind for me was The Breakfast Club from 1985. Any of you that have seen that movie will remember Molly Ringwald's character being driven to school by her father and picked up at the end of the movie in his what would have been a 633, probably because it was probably an 83 or an 84 model. And that was the model of the time. Bruce Willis also had one of these cars in the television show Moonlighting. He famously destroyed his one during one of the episodes. The other thing to note is how comfortable the back seats are. You know, it's a coupe, so it's hard to get in and out of, but still they made the rear seats very, very comfortable, sort of a laid-back, relaxed position. Okay, so where do we begin? Where do we begin? Well, I think we should begin with the smell. You know, 80s BMWs have a certain smell about them that I love as well. I know, I go on about these cars, but yeah, there is something about the way that these cars smell that I don't know, I think they're fantastic. If we start from the left and move across to the right, the car has the classic 80s check engine, all the lights like I had in my E30. The dash is just a thing of beauty. It's got the check system like in all the 80s BMWs. Those green lights slowly go down as you put more mileage or time on it, and then the yellow and red lights light up. It's got the economy gauge there, and a 160 mile an hour speedo. This car probably did at 155 actually, come to think of it, or maybe not. This is the 182 horsepower model, so it probably would have been struggling to get much past 130, 140 actually. Yeah, the US models had catalytic converters on them, so they sort of hobbled the engine power a bit. As soon as that beeping stops, I'll show you something. Okay, the Hvac controls are pretty cool in that the fan has continuously variable, so it's not just a click, 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 you know, 4 speeds. It can be any number of speeds. Oh, the luxury. Rear demister, all the normal stuff. You know, the classic 80s sliders. Very cool. A lot of BMWs had this button here. I think the E30s had them as well, which is the fader to front and rear speakers. And of course, this one works so well too. The one in my BMW doesn't work as well as this one. This one really seems to be accurate in that, you know, it's showing an accurate amount of mileage left, and you know, the trip computer really is pretty cool in this one. And you know, the dash and so forth, nothing to see there. This Mike's car is actually a 5-speed, which is really cool. And check this out. This car is a coupe, right? And there are 4 sets of windows buttons. So yeah, if you have a look here, back past William. William, did you see that? Yeah, down there is buttons for the windows. This is a coupe that you can actually wind the windows down in the back. How awesome is that? Down here you've got all the seat controls, including buttons to raise and lower the headrest, I guess you call it, and 8-way seat controls. These are the sport seats. Let me get out of the car and show you. That have the front lumbar as well. So yeah, pretty neat seats. The later models, sort of I think it's 87, 88 onwards, had an option of a rear air conditioning system, especially for the rear passengers, that came up here. It was a completely separate system, so that was pretty cool. So how does it perform, I hear you ask? Well, I don't want to gun this car. It's not my car. It's an older car. I don't want to wreck it. But, you know, we'll give it a little bit of full power along the straight here and see how she goes. Start her up. Pump the clutch. Into first. Away we go. Ease onto the road, Nick. Here we go. Woo-hoo-hoo. Love that sound. So, you know, for a 30-year-old car, it's got a bit of go to it. I like it. And it handles pretty well too. I may not give this car back. I love it.